I often think of like when I tell my children, do now, do it all now, have it because you for the rest of life get to be an adult. And you can't go back. These years you will never get back. Your energy, your like
Hmm.
dreams, like all the stuff, now's the time. And I'm a super encourager of that. And then I think, why don't I tell myself now is the time to do my stuff?
Welcome to the Delulu Magic Podcast, where we upgrade our mindset and live the most magical version of our lives. I'm Paola.
And I'm Gabby. And today we're going to be talking about how to incorporate fun in your life.
Yes. I think for Gabby and I, for a long time, it wasn't something that we really focused on having fun or creating play in our life. Gabby and I met when we were 15, so I'm not going to say how long ago that was. But when we were, 14, I think I was
Yes.
still 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were 15.
Yes.
And back then, it was so easy when you're a teenager and when you're a child to incorporate fun. That's really all we did, right? Figure out how to have fun, where we're going, what we're doing together.
What's next? Yeah.
And it wasn't even pre-planned. It was just, like
Hmm.
that was what life consisted about. And you get in this groove, right? You become an adult, you go to college, you start a career, and slowly you start moving away from that. Things start to become, goals and what am I going to achieve?
To-do list.
Yeah, your long to-do list that never really gets
Yes.
done.
Yeah.
I actually found some to-do lists from like a couple years ago, and I was like, why do I still even have this? I
Oh
need to
my
like
gosh.
really just purge. But
No.
anyway, that's a whole nother topic.
Yes.
And so we wanted to talk about how to incorporate more play
And
and more fun into our lives
yes.
because it's something that's so essential.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we have found both of us, over the years, how much of that we've just kind of assumed it wasn't a priority or it didn't have to even be on part of our lives. Again, we could take it back to a few episodes we talked about, how we thought of fun. And yes, that was fun. The having time together was fun. The traveling is fun, but then it's actually going to for us, I think we're finding right now as we both continue doing all of this, it's like, what do I actually think is like fun? Like my Gabby, just what do I really find fun in? And you speaking about when we were young, there was simple things we could do, like, and that were just built into our day-to-day life. We have never attended school one day together. So we made sure that, whenever I was done with school, where we still live close by, we made sure, that I don't even know now. I think I'm like, how do we even communicate? Phone, pager, what?
Pagers, pagers, because we
But
didn't have
we saw each other during
all the
the
time.
during the school week. We saw each other all weekend. I mean, we managed to get a job at the same mall across from each other. And there's a lot of other friends we had. We had so many friend groups, but we made fun. Like I think our biggest one is that you talk about, your memories that you just told me about the other day. If you want to kind of give that up, that one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
a little backstory. So Gabby and I met, and again, we didn't go to the same school. We both lived in Ailey.
Yes.
So she was going to a private school, St.
Yeah.
Agnes, and I just moved to that high school. So I was new, ninth grade. You're trying to figure out how you're going to fit
Hmm.
in, how you're going to make friends. And I happened to make a friend with a really great girl. Her name was Carmen, and she knew Gabby. And this was funny. We actually met over a boy.
Yeah.
So this guy I started dating was Gabby's best friend at the moment. And somehow, I don't know, I guess maybe Carmen told you about it,
Yes,
right?
and
And
he was dating somebody at my private school.
yes.
So I was like, "Oh, no. I'm gonna get me." I was like, "I don't think so." So I'm gonna make a three-way call, and he is going to get
Three ways.
so busted because this is awful. Me and my judgmental self at 50.
Yeah.
And
Didn't even know me, which is
and
the
yeah, I
craziest
didn't.
part.
And then Carmen brought you to my house, and it was like
Oh,
there was, I opened the door, and there was my soulmate.
yes.
So,
Remember wearing do you remember those?
yes.
It's like a white tank top underneath and like this like red, those holy shirts, that have
Yes.
holes. And I
Yes,
remember
from the
skinny
90s,
jeans with my
obviously.
hair all curly and my, this all
Yeah.
teased and like thrown to the side.
And yeah, so we automatically bonded And that story itself is pretty funny, like, that could have told you of what was going to be happening in all of our years of, being together, and then we just started doing more stuff together, like, right away,
I don't
like,
know, we just hit it off. It was just
Yeah, because
perfect
you were
one
you
of
were
those
gonna about
things.
to have your quinceañera, and then I came to your quinceañera, and then I got my license,
Oh, and it was like,
and then, yeah, we
the
hung
song.
out all o yeah, 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 and it was just, being in the car, like, the biggest one for me has always been, like, being in the car and, like, music, right? And then meals. We were, again, in the neighborhood we lived in where we grew up in, there was just, like, so much international food
Yeah,
that we could go sit in restaurants and have the best meals,
yeah, you
and
always knew the best restaurants. You always knew all the
oh my
places to
god,
go.
it
You
was
still do.
awesome. I miss it those things, but me sharing meals together, going like you said,
Yeah, and
going
it
to the
wasn't even about,
yeah,
like, spending money. But
yeah,
I think that we get to an adult and you're like, "Oh, we have to go spend money to go have this, do this event." But we used to go to, like, the neighborhood park, pack up, strawberries, pack up our the carrot
carrot oil
oil
to get a
to
tan.
get a tan and just, like, go lay out and just put on some music and hang out.
Yeah.
Of course, blasting, I think everybody has done this where, right, you're with all your friends, windows down, blasting, like,
Oh
your
my
favorite
god, my
music,
car full of CDs.
singing at the
We ha I had, like, stacks on stacks and stacks of CDs.
I was a
Now it
DJ.
Yep,
I was a
thank
DJ.
God for, Spotify and everything else right now. I could just stream it real quick,
And I
make my
used
own
to
playlist.
love, like, music. I was, like, such a great
Yeah,
DJ.
yeah.
And I remember as I got older, even, having kids, and then now it was, like, making phone calls in the car, listening
Yeah.
to podcasts, and I really got away from that, and I love that
Yeah.
you put that love of music
Oh,
into
yes.
your
Yeah,
kids.
yeah,
My
yeah,
kids love it
yeah,
too,
yeah,
but I don't think they got it as much from
yeah,
me. I wouldn't, like, sit there and blast music,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I think that's something that gives such a good energy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I find when I think of that, right? Because I feel like my fun was a lot of things that through the years I think I've kept a little of it, but then there's a lot of it that I'm like, well, no, that I shouldn't be doing that anymore because I'm getting older, or if I want to try something new because I'm gonna be awkward, or the worst is like I don't know anybody. Why am I gonna go do that? Like I don't. I'm intimidated. I feel,
Conscious.
yes, I feel like um less than, like, why am I going to go attempt to do things, right? I remember one time in my adult years that I was like, "I wanna try tennis." Oh, I went one time and I was like, "Never again. This is so embarrassing. I look so awkward. I don't wanna do this stuff." And it's something that I've always wanted to do. Right now, my kids know how to play, and I'm like, "Why didn't I just follow through?" Because I already had all these thoughts
Mhm.
that an adult, like, I put all these self-limiting
Limiting, yeah.
beliefs on myself, right? And took away fun that could have been part of my life to take away some of my stress. And I think the biggest takeaway for me today will be for that I want everybody to understand is, like, loving yourself, and it's, like, really the whole thing we've been trying to talk
Mhm.
about this whole month. It's just, like, that. You actually have to look for things that loving yourself means going and having fun.
Mhm.
And whatever
You
fun it needs to be, and, yes, there's a lot of unhealthy fun. We can all talk about
yeah.
that, happy hour, all whatever you wanna say. But there is a lot of clean fun that you can do, even, like, I mean, I think you do a lot, though. I don't think you see it as much, but you do a lot of, like, you play games like y'all do, like, family game night
Yes.
stuff. Like, you're very much like that. You did a lot of activities when you travel with your family. You guys do a lot of, like, adventures and activities and all that.
For a while, obviously, when
Yeah.
you have kids, that does bring more fun into your
Yeah.
life, right? Just the magic of seeing, like, them in awe, that childlike
Yes.
state of, like, "Wow, look at this butterfly,"
Yeah.
and as adults, we're like, "Oh, that's a cute butterfly,"
Yeah, yeah.
right? So we don't look at it with these childlike eyes. So
Yes.
you have kids, and I think it does bring that about.
Yeah.
But then they get a little older, and I even notice it in my teens, they
Yeah.
don't play as much as
Oh,
they
yeah, yeah,
used to,
yes, yeah.
right? But yes, absolutely. For me, fun is doing family fun.
Yeah.
But for a while, I was also like you with the whole tennis thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, "I'm not good." Like,
Yeah.
they love playing video games,
Yes.
and it's always funny because
Yeah.
I'm the worst video game player.
Yeah.
And also, I get really, I don't know who else does. I don't know if when you play video games, I
I
literally,
don't play.
like, if I'm jumping, I'm, like, moving my body, and it's this whole, like, this funny thing, right, that
Yeah.
everybody, like, makes fun of me. Um, and before for a while, I was like, "I don't wanna play." I don't I would play, but I didn't necessarily enjoy it
Yes.
because I was like, "I have to be good." Right? Just like
Yes.
you didn't
Yeah.
play tennis or
Yes.
try to because you're
Yeah.
like, Who said that we had to be perfect from the very beginning, from
No.
the first time you pick up a
No, but
racket?
nobody did. Well, like, things I've
Yeah.
been intimidated by, there's a lot of things that I wanted to try, and then I'm like, "No, I'm afraid." It's always that with
Mhm.
me, and I'm not gonna be good, so I don't wanna be a beginner,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
like, why did it have to become a competition? I think, we make all these
Oh,
things,
'cause
even when we put our kids in sports and we're like,
yes.
"Go," and it's not have fun, it's like, "Good luck, win,"
Well,
like, get it.
I think you lose the stuff, from your youth into when you transition into young adulthood, and then when you get into the roles of life or whatever you create, then you slowly, like, start diminishing, and then you start finding reasons why that is not, I'm not gonna do that. I don't have time. Although I'm
Mhm.
tired, I'm so busy, I'm overwhelmed. I could do it later. Although I could do it later. That was a big one for me. I have time later, and my priorities are always the order of things, right? Whatever roles I need to make
Mhm.
sure I'm putting in, that's first. Then me at the end. And then I'm
Yeah,
wondering why I'm pissed off and can't handle anything because I've
yeah,
never
that's so
actually
true.
sat and thought of like, what did you do for yourself today?
Mhm.
Because mine was like every couple of months, not even every couple of weeks. It was like today, what did I do for myself that was fun for me today, right?
Mhm.
And finding that out again, that took until my 40s. There was, like, a good 2 decades that I was just like, "Oh, well, I'll have time later,"
Mhm.
and, my biggest things have been finding and I think some of my work I did in therapy helped me. There was a few years that I really was able to zone in and see, like, what helps me? What do I find happiness in? What is my joy? And obviously, it's like, my having friends and connection,
Mhm.
having time, like, for myself because you know this. I like to not I love people, but then I do need, like, my space.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
then
important.
having the nature and really pursuing, like, the things I enjoy, whether it's exercising, whether it's traveling, whether it's going to have like really great meals. And these are things that,
Mhm.
yes, that are going to cost money, but a lot of times I would put it for other stuff and not think
Mhm.
I should invest in myself with my time, which is precious, and then with my resources if I have them, right?
Yeah.
And that has actually kind of like been a turning thing for me. And for me, always has been like music and my books.
Mhm.
And now I think it's funny because I feel like we switch a little in that sense that mine now I've done like the past 2 years I've been all about, a lot of the self-help books about
Mhm.
growth, about all that, and I'm like, "Ugh."
Yeah,
I have
switch.
stacks and stacks on books, and I wanna read them, and then I found Audible, and oh my gosh, that's been great because, like, fiction, I could go through, like, 10 books a month if
Mhm.
because I'm reading, I'm enjoying, but now these things, I'm like, I don't wanna do the work." I don't wanna books about this, books about that.
I know,
So
it's
I've
stack.
made that a little less fun, and so just being aware right now, like, even in this moment,
Mhm.
being aware that I'm not even putting in my fun, right? Well, before we start recording, what did I say? I went to my office this morning and I saw
Mhm.
you in January. I did my list and like
Yeah.
a wish list and like about what I wanted my year to look like. I wanted to have Fridays off because I wanted it to be free Fridays, like, for
Mhm.
fun or for this, for recording,
Yeah.
for the
Whatever
Lulu.
you want. Yeah,
Yes,
you
and
make the
that
choice.
that has been I am here, but, I already did 4 hours of work earlier, and then, other things that I was like, "Where are these things?" We are 8, 9 weeks into the year, and where are they?
True.
Because I haven't made them a priority.
But I feel like we've done so much better than we were even a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So I
Yeah.
moved here. I moved to Indiana and then North Carolina, and then I
Yes.
moved back right
Yes.
when my youngest was
A
maybe,
baby.
yeah, just a
Yeah.
couple months old. And right, we were so excited. I'm like, finally, I get to be back where
Yes.
Gabby is. And we're like, we're going to see each other all the time.
Yeah.
And literally, we would go months without seeing
Yes.
each other. And now that I think about it, I'm like, that's crazy. Like, not even that, like once a month,
Yeah.
like, where, hey,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
go get coffee or let's,
Oh, no,
go
I
for a walk. And we really, I'm so glad, like, right, we were talking about therapy a little bit earlier. And I remember a couple years ago, my therapist, right after working a lot of more other stuff out, she was like, well, how do you incorporate play?
Oh,
I looked at her, I'm like, I don't know what do you mean? I'm like, I watch Netflix. Like,
yes.
that's my plays. Like, that's it. What's your hobby?
Yeah.
That's my hobby. Like,
Yeah.
that I don't have time for hobbies. I'm working and then I'm with the kids or I'm, doing stuff for the
And
house.
Netflix is the fun.
Yeah, Netflix is like my chill time. It's like where I get to wind down.
Yeah.
I also thought that was like my alone time. Obviously, it was not because she was
Oh,
like, "No, you need to you need to journal. You need to," and so it really made me start having to go back. Like, what I think people, if you can think about what you used to do when you were younger,
yes,
right? That
yes, yes,
brought
yeah,
joy. Did
yeah,
you build little planes? Did you play
yeah.
cars? Did you, just like, did you like to write? Like, totally forgot. I used to like love, like, writing. And so now I've started, after that, I started incorporating where I like shooting or hitting people with stuff, basically, right? And then that, like,
Yeah.
not hard stuff, but And so the other day, probably like a couple years ago, and we do this every so often, or we have like snowball fights, but we put out Nerf guns in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
And Sean, my husband, was gonna come home, and the kids, like, we all hid, and we had like these little like face
Yeah.
masks on, right? And like we left a note. And we're like, grab your Nerf gun and like come find
Oh
us.
my
And like
gosh,
we
that's
have this
nice.
huge like Nerf shootout
Yeah,
fight,
yeah.
right? And it was so much fun. Or playing like, snowball, like, these
Yes.
little like things you throw them at each other. So I think it's people just going back to when they were kids and like, what did you enjoy,
Yeah.
right? Did you enjoy swimming and maybe, incorporating more of that? So I think it's people having to really figure out what brings them joy and figuring out a way to like just bring that into their life, even if it's just like once a week would be ideal, I think.
Yes, yes, once a week.
But if not, at least once a month where you can schedule something that brings you some type of
Yeah, and
childlike.
I remember really like 2 years ago whenever we found like the guy that does the big ass calendar
Yeah.
and how he like and that was like it's been my intention and I hope one year I can do that, but it's like you just plan out your whole year and you sit down and you are
Mhm.
so intentional and it's in there and you are just gonna get it done. Like the
Mhm.
fun is going to be in there
Yeah.
and all the things because you know what? Life is going to go and
Yeah.
pass you by and you're not gonna get to stop and be like, I want that back. There is such a big part of me that for me, my own fun is realizing I wanted it to come spontaneous.
Mm.
And now I'm like, no, it
Yep,
has
yep.
to be intentional
Yeah.
because I think when you're young, it's by default in there. It's built in. It's
Mhm.
part of life. Now we're so busy and we live in our society where it's like, the more you do better,
Mhm.
right? So if you can do less and that can even be fun because you're doing less and you're sitting outside having your coffee and you're not really looking at anything, but that could actually be your fun, right?
Mhm.
Bird watching can be your fun, like going out to find new places to walk can be fun,
Mhm.
I have a friend that I told her I want to learn to play mahjong because I get into my things and which is funny, I'll say the story, but I did it once because I'm going on a trip with my daughter for her senior year and like the moms play and I was like, I don't want to be I'm a beginner. I'm gonna be like again, I'm gonna feel awkward because
Mhm.
I don't know how to do this. So I asked my friend and I love her for it because she's like, sure, come. I have another friend that does it. Let's go. Really enjoyed it. Then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get all the stuff so I can do it. And then have I had one time to do it at my house? No.
I need to come
And
over so you could
my
teach me.
listen, and my kids were like, "Why did you even buy this stuff? Because you're not going to." But all they've seen is that me has this idea. Got the mom has these fun ideas, and then they're like, "But you don't do them."
Well, it takes a lot though to implement sometimes, but
Do you
yeah,
hear?
but you
But
have
it's
to
like it's like this is current, and not just the
Mhm.
tennis situation. It's because I go into default mode where I'm like, later.
Yeah.
I'll have time later. I'll have time later. I'll get to it later, and later just keeps coming for me. And my gosh, I mean, I'm getting closer to 50 than 40.
Mhm.
And, I'm not I'm doing changes. What this is fun for me right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like this was like our thing and our dream we wanted to do. And this is my fun. So I have already had a massive change
Mhm.
because I'm prioritizing, I'm intentional,
Yeah.
I'm aware of all that. So I think fun for me would be the big word would be like, you know what? Go find that what makes you like feel alive,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
And go try to do that
Yeah.
once a week. And if you can add it to every day, a little bit at a time, it will all add up and you will feel you'll be able to go through most of all the crap that comes at us
Mhm.
because you did do something for yourself. And that does do, rewiring
Oh,
in your brain.
absolutely. Like the
Yeah,
stress, like,
yes.
reduction and all the hormones that are released
Yeah,
that yeah,
yeah. I
absolutely.
actually and it's funny because I was like, I'm not gonna be prepared today. But then this week I was listening to about an audiobook because, I don't wanna read anymore, and it's called, like, The Shift or Shift. It's something, but it's all about emotions, and the
Mhm.
one, like, chapter I listened to, which was so good because I was like, "Oh, he hit it on the spot." Like, all this research has been done about what music does for us, how
Mhm.
it will, like, take you back and give you nostalgia, how it will make you, like, heartache, how it will take away, like, if you're super stressed and you can play whatever your playlist is and just jam it out and it'll make you happy,
Yeah.
or if you wanna go over down the other spiral, you can get really sad
Oh,
real
yeah.
fast,
Those old,
you
like, yeah,
know?
those old R&B
Those
songs.
old ones, you can pick and choose, but music and our senses,
Mhm.
or even, like, what it does for our brain,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Oh my gosh," and I love my music, so I haven't even been listening to music the past few weeks because 'cause I'm so, like,
Busy.
busy and stressed out, and then I'm like, "Well, no wonder you're pissed off. You, A, have not done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that you need to do
Yeah.
to feel joy and happiness," right? And, I was so glad, like, this week when you mentioned, you're like, Next week, let's make sure we go do something fun," because we haven't. We've
We
just been
haven't. We've
doing
been so busy with it.
we've been grinding and just, and it's still fun, we're
Mhm.
together,
Yeah.
and but it's, like, something where we're just, like, kinda disconnected and all the fun.
Yeah, well, we're not discussing, like,
Yes,
the
yeah,
goals or achievements or, like,
yes,
like,
yeah,
this or the podcast, even though for sure that's
yes,
definitely a ton of fun. Like,
yeah,
I love
yeah,
doing this. And I think that's one of the reasons we big ass calendar that you were talking
yes,
about at the
yeah,
beginning of the year, and we were, 2024 setting our
yeah,
intentions. When you get to play with someone else, where you get to, like, right, whether
yeah,
it's like, I wanna learn pickleball, which we
yes,
need to
yeah,
put that
yeah,
on our thing
yeah.
for 2025. But just having that camaraderie, having somebody that you could do that with,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
And I think that's why so many people, right, we talk about the loneliness epidemic.
Yes,
There's so many older people,
yeah.
and it's so sad because when was the last time they probably incorporated fun
Fun.
into their life,
They
right?
don't.
Even, like, in a little way.
Yeah,
Um, and that's one of the things that I started doing, and I would say last year, probably last year, because I was thinking about my grandma, and
yeah,
when my grandmother got really, older, and, she wasn't but she kinda went into that childlike state, and
yes.
I bought her this, those little baby alive
Yeah,
dolls, right? I bought her, this baby, and she would play with it and feed it, and it was just, like, the cutest thing,
oh,
right? And she really,
I
like,
know.
enjoyed that. It brought her joy, and I started trying to think of all the times that, because I was so busy, because,
Mm,
right, like, oh, I have so much to do, I don't have time necessarily to, like, go hang out, let's say, with my mom, or, or even, like, if you have, like, in-laws or something that you don't, like,
yeah, yeah,
necessarily, like, that you're like, "I'm too busy to do this,"
yes,
but figuring out a way how to incorporate fun into it. So
yeah,
one of the things I've started doing is I'm like, "Oh, hey, mom, come over. Let's cook together, and we'll
yeah,
listen to music," right?
yeah, yeah,
And that's been so nice.
yeah,
It brings away, it makes me feel like, I guess it's that thing of you want to feel productive
yeah.
all the
Oh.
time, or at least that's my issue, right? I wanna feel
So your fun
productive.
is still productive.
Oh god, even when we sing like that, so I'm being productive and fun.
You knocked it out.
But also,
Yeah.
I don't always have to be productive. I'm like, "Hey, let me come over and we'll play some cards."
Yes.
So finding a way, I think it's so important too for our parents,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And not that we have to do it, but if we can incorporate a little fun for us, right? When you're
Oh,
playing
yeah.
cards, you're always gonna have fun,
Oh,
right? And
you're
maybe
like
it feels like this
yeah.
effort to have to go do it, but then when you're in it,
Oh,
like,
no,
it's
no,
it's
like, I
nice.
mean, like, and I can attest to that, like, my, like, husband, he's always had things he does for fun, right? I mean, he loves golf, but that's, like, a
Mhm.
professional slash hobby, whatever for him, but and if he could play every day, he would be the happiest person in the world.
Yeah.
And then he has, like, a poker group he meets with, and then he has other things if he gets invited to do stuff. He really loves cars and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So he gets a lot of joy out of that. And by default, he gets community and he gets connection and he does not
Mhm.
feel unhappy or, that he's not loving himself.
Yeah.
It's same with like his exercise group. I have not actually gone to work out in a group for a long time where he does, and he really had a hard time. He had some health issues and he
Mhm.
couldn't participate anymore, but he struggled because again, that was his fun and his community. And
Mhm.
he really like had grown attached to that group of people,
Yeah.
because it was part of his days. And you've got to find what is going to make you happy and when you like that kind of fulfillment. And it's really the self-love to actually go do the things, right?
Yes.
And finding the things and that those are like beautiful examples of what you're saying of like connecting with like family members and, like, friends, and it's always you're gonna have some fun in there too.
Mhm.
and they're going to you were gonna bring fun in there, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just took a trip last weekend and, my mom came with us. It was very brief, but it was kind of funny, we had funny stories, you know more about them, but it's like we had, like, one of the meals, she had, like, 2 drinks, and then it was just like my husband was like, I've never seen her, like, she ate, like, all food, and she was just laughing and having fun. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I never think of, like, my mom doesn't go out
Yeah.
to have dinners and be around other people. Like, she's by herself most of the time and doesn't get to do this,
Mhm.
where I'm like, you're going out to eat a few times a week, whether lunch, whatever, and I'm with people and I'm
Yeah.
talking and I'm laughing or whatever, venting, and she doesn't. So I could see how that's helps her kind
Mhm.
of realize it's okay to go and have fun, to go to dinner and to do the other stuff. It's just,
Mhm.
those are things that we find pleasure in,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And traveling too, like, instilling that kind of thing, like getting to know things, like, I mean, there's so much that I still want to do.
Mhm.
And I think I saw probably a show and it made me like get super teary eyed because like they're talking about how I did it. It's that movie, right? Everybody's seen like that reel the which she's like when she turned 50 and then she's talking to the cake and she's like, when I was 30 or when I was thought I was going to do these things I didn't get to do them and she's 50 and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, mine is coming." Like now I'm
Mhm.
like stop and think and be intentional about the fun.
Yeah.
But again, and life shows up with,
Yeah.
"Here it is. Let me knock you over for a little while and see if you can really balance it out." Never. But if you do some certain things, you're
Mhm.
able to withstand all, like the waves, like of how everything is. Like you're able
Yeah.
to kind of not coast, but you're able to do it because you're loving yourself and you're having that time for joy, for
Mhm.
fun,
Mhm.
and in through simple things, again, walks, like me and we became these walkers and
I know,
these
and it's so
people that
nice.
wanna be outside and be all calm, and you
Take
just
a
joke,
coffee and
and,
walk.
we used to be like the insane people that it was like, what more can we do, like, physical, social, big aspects, and now it's kinda like, "Okay, let's go to a
A
sound
little
bath."
bit calmer. A little bit calmer. But I think it doesn't always have to be like this event or even, right, when I think about trying to make sure that we do something fun once a week.
Yeah,
But I think even and my husband's really
yeah,
good at this. He'll just be silly, like, with the kids, he'll, like, hide and then try to scare them.
yeah,
Or, just being like, for me, one of the things that for some reason just recently I've started to do, I'll play, like, probably a song from the '90s,
yes,
like some really good
yes,
song,
yes.
Mary J. Blige
Send you a playlist.
or Jodeci, yeah, or Delulu, and I'll just, like, be singing it and, like, I do this little performance, right, for myself. And it makes it makes me happy. It brings me joy.
Yeah,
So I think we can find a lot of instances in our day to be like, "You know what? I'm gonna let myself be like a child and
yes,
let
yeah.
myself be silly."
And finding and really, really it is that, being aware that most of the time, most we don't even realize that you've lost those parts of yourself, right? And because
Mhm.
like, I think often of, like, when had my first child, I feel like there was a few years that there was more of me that I was like, "Oh, I can be this, that." And then as I had more children, and then it just became this person that I'm like, "Who the F are you?" Like, you're just this
Yeah.
I don't even know. But it was like dual personalities because it was like when I was with my children, it was this person, and then I'm not with them, I'm
Yeah.
me.
Well, because you have to be this
Big
mom that's like, I don't know, like, what example we think we're, like,
real
all perfect and
sadness, like and or like hiding like the true parts of yourself, like even the emotional part, all the
Mhm.
things. I mean, of course, they could see the mean part, me not being, me because I have need you to be a certain way, and I'm gonna be a certain way. But like my real self, it's like I'm gonna keep her away
Tucked.
because
Yeah.
you don't need to know that side of me, and the world doesn't need to know that side of me. I
Mhm.
need to be just who you all need me to be.
This mature mom, yeah, figure that you had in your
And
head.
most of us feel like we're, a lot. You feel like you're living in like a. For me, it was a lot of like switching,
Yeah.
like, like where do I,
I thought that's how it was supposed to be, though. That's so
No,
weird.
there's people that are not. I've asked and talk to people right now.
I
There is a lot of people that are just themselves.
Yeah, once I asked, the therapist,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, can you really like the just exactly who you are, talking the same way that you talk
Yes.
with your friends,
Yeah.
or just like then how can you if you can't be yourself in front of like your
Yeah.
kids, like your full self. Not
Yes.
that I was like hiding
Yeah.
these huge parts of myself, just like, oh, I'm just a little bit more put
Well,
together. I'm a mom,
yes.
right? Then like what is it? Do you think they're gonna judge you? Right?
Yeah.
Do you think they're not
Yeah.
gonna love you
Yes.
fully? And maybe it came back to me.
Yes.
But then also it's sad that's for somebody not to know your full self. So I feel like I
Yeah.
have changed
Yeah.
over the last couple years where
Yeah,
now,
you're
yeah, like
learning to be vulnerable in front of them, right?
absolutely, which
And
I
not
would have
even
never been before. It's like
no.
I've got it all together. I'm
Under
your mom.
control.
You're good. You're safe always. Don't worry.
Yeah, the world is not, and making those being aware again,
Mhm.
like, or, very like in tune with that has been so good for me. And at the same time, I'm still, not applying it as where I need to be. And again, I don't expect, and I'm so grateful. Like this past few weeks, you've been very good with telling me, like, we can't expect, like, there's no, we're never going to hit this, like, I got it all perfect everywhere. I don't even want perfection. I just want to be who I need to be
Mhm.
for whatever I'm needed at the moment, and that's it.
Yeah.
From like within myself. I don't, I'm not even looking to strike here, 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 here. I just want to stay like I love myself just the same as I loved everybody
Mhm.
else. And I want that every day, because I think that that can make a world of a difference in how you show up and how you are authentic
Mhm.
instead of, letting all these like little pieces of yourself be lost, which is your fun parts, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, my husband can attest to that though I've always been with him like myself. Like
Mhm.
I've never, and I don't think he would think I'm necessarily so different with the children, but I feel like there's like a huge part that I'm like, just was more, it's like you said, just this regimented thing. Like,
Yeah.
and as they've gotten older, which is beautiful, and I'm have a lot of like bittersweetness in that, but my gosh, I'm so excited about my children being adults because I'm like, oh, it's good.
Some.
It's good. I can be who I need to be, and you are good. You are set, and you are gonna be yourselves
Yeah.
because I'm okay with being myself. Like you're not trying to hide or be parts of you that you don't want me to know or
Mhm.
see.
And I think a big key is to that is also like the to being able to love yourself, to being able to like right
Yeah,
feel in the flow is being present.
yeah,
And so to me, I think the two big things that would help for people
mm,
when they are like trying to incorporate is be present and see those opportunities.
yes,
Because like again, when I was playing video games with the kids, or like they play Rayman or
yeah,
Overcooked is another one, and I suck at all of them, and I played for years, and I still suck.
yeah,
But back then, I was still like, "Ugh, I'm not doing well. Like they're gonna get mad or whatever.
yeah,
Um, but it was almost like I'm gonna do this because they want to, and okay, it'll almost when is it gonna end?
yeah.
Kind of like, okay, I'm gonna do
They
this. We're
almost,
gonna
yeah,
right
yeah.
like a task.
Well,
Right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
think I
yeah.
approached it like a task. I guess is what it
Yes,
is,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like we're gonna do this, but not for the fact of I'm just gonna do this and just like enjoy it and have fun and look at them having fun and
yeah,
laughing and oh my god, I messed up there and I died again.
yeah.
And I think there's to be just present in that you can really start to feel that
And
like little
connect.
bit of joy because you're just like, I don't care. I'm just going to do this to do it. I'm not really going to
I
do
think
this
you
to have this
uh,
outcome. And I think that's what it becomes. It all becomes outcomes based,
yeah,
right? With most things that we do in life.
yes.
And we're not just doing it just to do it and just be like, let's just see what happens, right? Like
Yeah,
if you go
yeah.
play a game or right, a sport, most people probably be like, okay, I want to win or I'm trying to win this game, but just play for the
Oh my
heck of
gosh,
it,
you're right, and
right?
I think yes, that's super important. Take whatever out of it, like, go and try to find some childlike
Hmm.
wonder, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be the things like what we've necessarily done, but, um just kinda sit with and find what did you enjoy? What do you think you would wanna do? What would you add? Maybe not even I would say add, but something that is fun to you. A lot of people too, like the people that like I thought of that I was like comedy. I love comedy. Like I love stand-up comedy. I love like if I need a hit of joy, for sure I'm gonna go find something funny. Like,
Yeah.
like on TV, stand-up shows, all that. But looking for those things and then incorporating them
Hmm.
in some way without having them have an like a meaning or attachment to them,
Yeah.
or because you're checking off a box, or because yes, sometimes fun will come from doing that, but most of the time it's not.
Yeah. No.
That's doesn't fulfill it. And us as adults, I think we need it so much.
Mhm.
We don't realize it. And I'm gonna be honest, women the most.
Mhm.
That's we are in desperate need of that. And there is a lot of women doing things like I believe,
Mhm.
but for the most part, all of us carry this later
Yeah.
when I have time. You know,
Yeah.
how can you think I'm gonna even add anything else to my life?
Mhm.
I often think of like when I tell my children, do now, do it all now, have it because you for the rest of life get to be an adult. And you can't go back. These years you will never get back. Your energy, your like
Mhm.
dreams, like all the stuff, now's the time. And I'm a super encourager of that. And then I
Mhm.
think, why don't I tell myself now is the time to do my stuff? So it's I'm gonna say just, go find some fun. Find just ask friends. Think about what you did with your if you can't go back into childhood like
Mhm.
elementary, because most of us will be like, well, what did I do? But maybe you can because I know that there's like
Yes.
intramural sports if you really like that kind of activity, or if you want to go do like, a musical like music
Mhm.
instrument, or if you want to be creative with art, or there's so many cool things now, and a lot of them you can find if you look, like, even now,
You can learn everything everywhere, right? Like,
everywhere, anything you want to do, and I have friends right now that I am in awe of them because I am like, "How do you even know how to do all this stuff?" But because they put the work in.
I think the biggest hack is it is music. I think
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you can
yes.
just, like, even if you just do
Yes.
that, and that's
Yeah.
also one of my hacks for getting up out of bed, like, when you're, like, just having a funky day
Yeah.
and you're like, "Okay, what can I do?" Like,
Yeah.
the main thing is move,
Yes.
right? It's just I'll put on a song and I'm like, "I'm gonna move.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to have
Yes.
this song get me outside and, just
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
that energy," and then usually things flow,
Yes,
a little bit
yes.
easier. So I think that's one of the things that people can do.
We are going to eventually have, like, our own and, we'll add it to, you know, our website and everything. We're gonna try to have some fun playlists for everybody to go find.
Yes.
And, I think that's, don't forget, that you gotta remember that nothing changes unless you do.
Yes. So stay Delulu and make it happen, and we'll see you guys next time.